Pranams to Adarniya Prashantji. A very warm welcome to all of you on this very special Sunday morning. It's a very happy occasion. So we will start as usual with the Patanjali invocation and the Guru Vandana. And for that, I invite Aisha Devi to lead the invocation.
Join your palms, close your eyes. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारम् शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः हरिः ओम.
It is Guru Pournima, and what better to have remembrance of the Guru Parampara, starting with Mahamuni Patanjali and before and thereafter, and all our Gurus till non-living, living, past, present, and perhaps the future. Before we go ahead, please switch off your mobile phones if you haven't already done that, so we have no disturbances. Shall I tell people to shift to the right? All right, so if you can keep space for people to come in at the end later, and there should be no need to ask you to shift, it would be better. So if you can already shift and leave front. Yeah, shift in front as well. Thank you. Okay, so, yeah, settle down quickly. And okay, so please settle down. And now I invite Jyoti Karandikar to sing an abhang. Is it sing or recite? I don't know, but Jyoti will tell you. Come.
आदरणीय गुरुजी आणि आदरणीय गीताताई यांच्या स्मृतीस अभिवादन. आदरणीय प्रशांत सर आणि समस्त आदरणीय अयंगार कुटुंबीय तसंच इथे उपस्थित सर्वांना सादर प्रणाम. आज गुरुपौर्णिमा आणि गुरु प्रशांत सर यांचा वाढदिवस हा एक छान योग जुळून आला आहे. हरिपाठातल्या अभंगाने आज मला सुरुवात करावीशी वाटते आहे, कारण हरिपाठ आणि गुरुजी, गीताताई आणि प्रशांत सर यांच्या शिकवण्यात किती साधर्म्य आहे याची मला जाणीव झाली. हरिपाठ is a creation of a renowned saint of Maharashtra, Sant Jnaneshwar. It is said to be a simplified version of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Guruji, Geetatai and Prashant sir have also simplified the knowledge of Yoga Shastra for us. Haripath is chanted by the Varkaris who walk with the Palki each year. The Abhangas speak about the glory of Paramatma. It helps the common man to walk the path of spirituality. Guruji, Geetatai and Prashant sir too have instilled the awareness of Ananta Samapatti and Ishwara Pranidhana through their teachings. Through the medium of Haripatha, Sant Jnaneshwar motivated people to follow the Bhakti Marga, the path of devotion. He urged people to remember the Lord at all times by chanting his name with feeling of love. Prashant sir has often explained the journey of Varkaris who walk with the Palki and chant praise of Vitthala and Vitthala Nama. Today, I wish to sing one of the 28 Abhangas of Haripatha, which is apt in meaning for the Guru Pournima celebration. The Abhanga talks about the importance of a Guru. Sant Jnaneshwar says, performing yoga, rites and rituals and sacrifices to gain honor, respect and adoration does not lead to purification. They merely instill a false sense of pride and arrogance which pampers our ego. It doesn't allow us to go past the I, capital I, as Prashant sir always says. So let's try to remember how Prashant sir often has explained about the I, me and mine, and you and yours. This Abhanga, which I shall now chant, tells us that the path towards spiritual upliftment and self-realization needs a guru. So, here I would like to offer my Swara Sumananjali. योग याग विधी येणे नोहे सिद्धी. योग याग विधी येणे नोहे सिद्धी. वायाची उपाधी दंभ धर्म. दंभ धर्म भावे वीण देव न कळे निसंदेह. गुरु वीण अनुभव कैसा कळे. कैसा कळे. हरिमुखे म्हणा. हरिमुखे म्हणा. ज्ञानदेव सांगे दृष्टांताची मात. गुरूंचे संगती तरणोपाय. तरणोपाय. हरिमुखे म्हणा. हरिमुखे म्हणा. पुण्याची गणना कोण करी. कोण करी. हरिमुखे म्हणा. हरिमुखे म्हणा. हरिमुखे म्हणा. हरिमुखे म्हणा. And so we acknowledge all our gurus. Namaskar. Thank you.
So a thought triggered in my mind as she sang this abhang, and she mentioned that Guru is very important. And it triggered, I don't have Jyoti's voice, but I can just say it. Dhyana moolam gurur murti. Puja moolam gurur padam. Mantra moolam gurur vakyam. Moksha moolam gurur kripa. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Pranams to all our gurus. And with that very beautiful beginning, I invite Birju Mehta to share some of his memories and thoughts on the Guru Parampara. Thank you.
My humble pranams to revered Sri Prashantji, members of the Iyengar family, and friends. You know, Advaya, the definition of Guru in Advaya Tara Upanishad says, Gu stands for darkness, and Ru is the one which dispels the darkness, and therefore the one who dispenses or removes the darkness is a Guru. In other words, Guru is the one who actually leads you to the path of enlightenment. And often we tend to use the word lightly when we use the word Guru. But actually, the Guru is the one who leads to your enlightenment. And therefore, whosoever is blessed to have a Guru under whom they are guided is indeed blessed, and therefore would want to acknowledge their fortune. And today, being Guru Pournima, is the day when one acknowledges that fortune that they have had in able to get their life changed by them. Now, this is also the time when we praise the Guru. It's also the time we say how the Guru has impacted our lives and what changes are there. For a moment, just think about what part of your daily life is revolving around yoga. Think about it. How certain Sundays or Saturdays, how they are all sort of geared around to the activity of yoga. What is the change that has happened to you? And think about a point of time before you commenced your practice in yoga or before you met Guruji, Prashantji, Gitaji, members of the Iyengar family. What was that state? And now, if you are in this state, do you find yourself fortunate that you are in this current state of, or what you would be if you had not met these people? So I would say that our lives would have been transformed by yoga, by Guruji, by Gitaji, Prashantji, and everyone who is teaching us yoga. So we will acknowledge that fortune that we have because of what has been given to us. You see, our lives have taken a fresh trajectory because of yoga. And we cannot thank our gurus for that. And at times one may feel that we would like to listen all the time to the praises of our guru. And like, for example, like Hanuman, whenever there are praises of Lord Rama, he is there to listen to that patha. Like that, there will be so many of us here that when we hear the praises of our Guruji, Prashantji, Gitaji and all, we would be so happy to continue to listen to them all the time. And we may feel, that this is apt and appropriate that we praise them. But there will be others who are new to this, who have not really tasted that fruit, would wonder whether we are not very effusive in our praises. Do they really require it, or is it just that because of the occasion we are trying to create or drum up the praises because the occasion demands it? I would like to say that there is a change definitely in all of us who are here. And then there will be some who would say, how can just doing physical activity like doing asana and pranayama can lead to enlightenment? So when people say that their lives have been transformed, do they really mean it? Guruji did not talk about, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, how we should be, this, that, and other, sitting on the platform. And yet, how did it impact our minds? Because ultimately, our lifestyle is determined by what happens to our mind. And if our mind has not been changed, would our lifestyle be changed? And therefore, there was something in this that changed us by just doing the asanas and pranayama. Now, what is it? What was it? Guruji never started the teaching of yoga with, okay, sit down, I will tell you about what is yoga. He straight away, like you jump into the pool to learn swimming, just like that. You just go straight away into the asana. And he knew how the asana changes your mental conditions, your emotions. If you are down in the dumps, open your chest. Do that, all of you. Does it not change your mental state? Now, if somebody has got a lot of pride, conventionally people say this, his head is in the air. What would Guruji say? Stamp your feet when you are in Tadasana and touch the floor. What happens to you? The pride changes, your emotions change depending upon the body posture. He realized that there's no point in talking about these things, about what yoga can do and how it has to be done and what is the purpose of yoga. He knew that the taste will be available the moment he start your practice of yoga. Sit in Tadasana or stand in Tadasana or sit erect, open your chest, raise your head up, etc. is sufficient to change your mental conditions and your emotional state. So that is why he was able to get those changes. Now, normal people also know this, and it's surprising. But the academicians, the philosophers, and others do not know this. Normal person knows that the mind is intricately entwined with the body conditions. But philosophers will say, mind is one, the body is separate. This is the duality of the mind and body. These are two different things. And therefore, if you have to work on the mind, you have to work through the mental processes and not through physical process, because they are two different things. Those are coming from philosophers and academicians who do not know what the common man knows. The common man says very clearly, he is crestfallen. What does it indicate? Crestfallen means his sternum is dropped. What happens when the sternum is dropped? You become dull, you become depressive, isn't it? So these are the things which people knew, but yet they could not articulate. And Guruji was one who actually articulated this, that your body posture determines your emotional and mental state. Now, what is mental state? Mental state is essentially about the processes which are happening in your brain. The thoughts are processes which are occurring in your brain. And then the question comes that why not go through the process of doing proper academic study of thoughts if you have to quieten the mind? Now, why quieten the mind? A person who has practiced yoga will realize very, very clearly that when the mind is serene, they experience happiness. When you are doing a posture, your mind is serene and therefore you experience happiness. You also know that when you stretch out your arms to the maximum extending and stretch out your legs to the maximum extent and stretch your spine and extend your spine to the maximum extent, you become happy. Happiness comes not because you are sitting in the condition, but when you are extending fully. And that is why Guruji used to say, extension will be there from the core to the periphery and periphery to the core, so that every cell of the body is then sort of feeling the life. And when you are feeling life, you feel light. When you are feeling light, you are feeling happiness. And that is what Guruji was able to get in every posture. Now, what happens is, why did Guruji not come back and say, we should we should try to condition the mind through activities of the mind. It never works. You see, what happens is that when the mind is serene, there is no job for the mind. When the mind is serene, there is no job for the mind. When there is no job for the mind, there are no obstructions or obstacles to the flow of your prana or flow of your life. Life force flows freely. But it is when thoughts come that it creates barriers. When these thoughts stop, then you are in the state of freedom. And that is what we are looking for. But when you are in the state of freedom, what is the value of the mind? Nothing. And that is the reason the mind will always resist. It will always resist being serene. Its own, identification is completely lost. The whole value is lost if the mind is serene. And that is the reason there is something which everyone must have felt. That yoga is good for you. You want to do an asana. You want everything. But what happens to the mind? The mind says no. The mind says no. Why is it? It happens to all of us. That when you are in a particular state, the mind says, no, not today. I've got so many reasons. Right? So the mind creates reasons. Only because it knows that if it comes into the path of yoga and the yoga starts, automatically the mind is made serene and it becomes worthless. And this is what Guruji was able to do, what Gitaji was able to do. That by making the person to taste what is the milk, there was no need for explaining all the things which are probably given in the text, and we would misinterpret it. Because we have no idea what it's talking about. And therefore, often what Guruji would say is that I go to the Shastras, I go to the books for what? For validation of my experience. He did not go to the Shastras to learn, but to validate the experience that what he is given, what he is getting, and once it is validated, he took it to the people. In a sense, Guruji was experimenting all the time. Even people who have had their opportunity to be under his guidance for medical conditions, they would realize that, Guruji was able to quickly help them out. But do you know that probably within his body, he has already experimented all these things? So he was in a sense like Shiva. He was in a sense like Shiva, who took the halahala, the visha, and put it on the throat or kept it in his throat so that the others would be free of it. And that is the reason why there is so much of effusive praises for Guruji and Gitaji, Prashantji, and all the Iyengar families and the students and teachers of Iyengar thing. So, with this, I would like to thank you all for having a patient listening. And I would ask Firoza to take over from now. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Birju. So, some of the things that Birju says, again, triggers of thoughts. In India, we have the parampara of Kirtan. Jyoti will know it, and all of you know it. So, singing the praise of the wise ones, singing the praise of your gurus is a tradition in India, and we should never stop it. It is always, 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 not because you should sing praise of the wise ones and your gurus, because when you sing praise of them, you feel the benevolence. Something happens to you because when you sing the kirtana of a saint or a sant or a guru, there is a transformation that takes place in your mind. And therefore, the the Ashirvad or the benediction or the prasadam is what you get as the transformation of your mind. So it is so important that we constantly sing the praises of our gurus, constantly remember them, constantly tell their stories through your memories to the younger generation, and thereafter it goes on, and that is how it becomes an oral tradition. And the parampara is not forgotten, it continues from one generation to the other. So it is so important to share those memories constantly. Birju also told you very beautifully about how Guruji, had his own style of teaching, and how it was not about text, but it was about, when the mind gets transformed, then you know that there is a transformation. Guruji used the language of the common man. He used, as Birju also mentioned, that what people could understand. He used the language which people could understand. He connected with the people, and through his energy, as being Shiva, through his energy, he transmitted that energy to his students to make them understand is as simple a form which can be purely physical, and therefore when you feel good in the body, your mind feels good, and then you experience that glimpse of transformation, and then you want to know more about it, explore more about it, experience more about it. So that was the beginning. Guruji set the ball rolling, and again, as Birju said, when the mind is serene and quiet, there is nothing to do. So you don't want that. You have a serene mind, but you don't know what to do with the serene mind. So you are at a loss, because the mind is mercurial, on a roll all the time, right? But very soon we realize that that joy and that happiness that you get through your practices is not of a permanent nature. Because as the mind can go up, it can also come down. So it keeps on seesawing. So as practitioners of yoga, particularly Iyengar yoga, you may be on a higher level at some time. Maybe you don't come down immediately. You linger on for a lot more time, but at some time you will come down. So the language of Guruji was developed to teach us at a certain level where he began. And thereafter, the language must change. It has been changing. So the language that is required to understand not temporary happiness or a small scale of happiness, but how can you from that small experience look for a loftier experience or a experience of a higher kind, something which is of greater permanence, so that the mind, when it is serene, is not at a loss what to do with the serenity. When you get the serenity, you know how to hold on to it, because after all, isn't that what yoga is about? Okay, it's not an empty mind. It's not just about an empty mind, because we have been told from childhood that empty mind is the devil's workshop. खाली है तो उसको भरना पड़ेगा, तो कुछ ना कुछ तो भरेंगे, उसको खाली रखेंगे कैसे? And therefore, the language that Prashantji offers us these days is the follow-up on Guruji's language. So the textual language comes in, the philosophy comes in. Unless the philosophical aspect is not brought in, you may express, बहुत अच्छा लगा, we became happy, class was wonderful, class was fantastic, great experience. But that cannot become the language of later. So as you practice further, your language will change, because your expressions in your own mind will change. And when your expressions on your experiences will change, your expressions will change, you will want to have a different language. And this is where we find that, as in the parampara, Prashantji has now brought in a different language of expression. And we will be talking more about that by and by. So it is also Prashantji's birthday today. As you all know, it's not just Guru Pournima. So, Abhi told me once when we were having a discussion that, okay, Gita ji, Guruji, we think about them all the time, we talk about them all the time. But Prashantji is our living Guru. And I thought that is a very good statement. Okay? He is here now. And therefore, how is it that we can celebrate him? And what better day than his birthday? So it's, how do you celebrate the birthday of a person who does not like celebrations? How do you celebrate a person who shies away from praise, accolades, You tell him very nice, he says, okay. He does not look for recognition. He does not crave for social media presence. But whether he likes it or not, he has a social media presence now, thanks to his YouTube lessons. If he doesn't like it, too bad, but he has a presence. how do you celebrate a person who does not like to be in social gatherings? And if he ever has to do one, attend one, then as soon as the program is over, you won't see him around. He disappears, he runs away. Yeah, so as he said, he leaves a bit of himself in your heart, though he runs away. So how is it possible for us to, celebrate his birthday? These are the thoughts that came into my mind. But when he comes into the class, do you find him shy? Do you find him reticent? Do you find him hesitant? When he comes into the class, he is full on his own, right? That time there is no shyness, no hesitancy. He is very clear about what he wants to say. He has no inhibitions. A spade is a spade, a wrong is a wrong, a right is a right. Okay? He breaks all barriers of limitations, delimitations as we call them. Okay? So at that time, you are nobody of the person that you think you are with gender, caste, creed, etc., nationality. Those who attend his classes know all that, what he says. He does not hesitate to tell us that you better beware of the road that you are following. He does not hesitate to tell the students and teachers that sooner or later, you better recognize where you are headed, lest you are heading in the wrong direction. A person who spends all his effort to bring the message of Iyengar's yoga to the world. Not Iyengar yoga, as he differentiates, not what you do, but Iyengar's yoga, what Guruji did. And of course, you'll agree that there's a sea change between what I do, you do, and what Guruji did. Okay? So Prashantji has his language of expressing what Guruji did and why he taught you the way he taught you and what he wanted to teach. So the language has changed over the years. Now this is also Guru Parampara. The change has to be there. You cannot parrot and repeat what somebody else said. And I think all the teachers will be aware of it, because anything that you repeat is not the truth. What comes from my mind is the truth. But if I repeat somebody else's words, it's not the truth. Then I have to say, I am repeating so-and-so's words. Then it becomes a quote. Then you are honest. But if I say something which is not my word, then I am what's it called? I am stealing. I am a thief. It's called plagiarism, right? Using somebody else's words as yours. So Prashantji has his own words and his own expressions, and that is what we have, those who have studied with him know a lot of that. How do you celebrate a person who has immense patience? Not only that he wants the world to know what is Iyengar's yoga, but he doesn't tire of it. Day after day after day after day, class after class, hour after hour, lesson after lesson, it goes on and on and on. Anyone like you and me would feel, how many times should I tell them? Are they dumb? Don't they understand? We get impatient. My God, I wish I could have better students. What is this? What do I have in front of me? How do I teach these people? Now, I'm talking about myself. Sorry, I'm not talking about others. This is me. But Prashantji, that never happens. Again and again, patiently repeated, so that even the dullest one, the mood, will, sooner or later, in his own words, better late than never, they will understand what he's trying to say. So with immense patience, it's repeated again and again in different ways with the help of different examples, different analogies, different quotes, you're referring to texts. So Prashantji has developed a language. We'll talk more about his language soon. So again, to come to the point, how do you celebrate the birthday of such a person? So I think you can't celebrate a birthday for such a person. Singing happy birthday, cutting a cake, it's very inadequate, isn't it? So you don't celebrate the birthday, but you celebrate the person. So we are here to celebrate Prashantji, not just his birthday. Okay? So Okay. So to celebrate Prashantji, I have a small memory here. In one of his classes, he said, become Prashant. Some of you may remember. And I'm saying, really? How do I do that? Can I even dream of doing that? Can I even think of doing that? And then he said, this morning I did 3 hours of pranakriyas before I started the class at 7 a.m. And I'm saying, oh, is that what becoming Prashantji is about? I said, no, not for me. I can't even dare to dream about it, let alone think about it. So that's not possible. So we can't become Prashantji, but we can celebrate him in a certain way that we can know, we only can know, we can do the best we can. So for that, we have a group of people who have agreed to join me in sharing memories. So I will like to invite them on stage. So Aisha, please come. Aisha from, I don't know where, she's from Mumbai right now, but she was in other places before. So she's one of the senior most students who was student with Guruji and Gitaji Prashantji. So please come. And then thereafter, Jawahar, I see you come in. So please come. Jawahar Bangera, another senior student. And yes, Rajvi Mehta from Mumbai, you all know her. Yeah. And Siddharth Bangera. So you have 2 generations, father and son. All learn from all the teachers. And then I invite Vibha Kale from Pune. Where are you, Vibha? Come. And Raya Uma Datta. You all know him. So I invite these 6 people to take the stage. So when I asked them, will you join me? And they said, what are you going to ask? You know, like we won't be able to say everything that Prashantji teaches. I said, no. Who dares to, repeat what Prashantji teaches? None of us do. It's not going to be a viva or an exam for you to be on stage. There is no need for apprehensions. It's a joyous, happy occasion. As I said, if you use your own words, they are yours. But if you use somebody else's words, then they are not yours. And then you have to quote. So I want to quote one doha of Sant Kabir. Some of you by now know that is my favorite area. So it's an appropriate day for that. गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े, गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े, काके लागू पाए, गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े, काके लागू पाए, बलिहारी गुरु आपकी, बलिहारी गुरु आपकी, गोविंद दियो बताए. So translation, if by chance I have this grace, like Biju said, we are fortunate to have come to Iyengar Yoga and somewhere or the other, we must have done some good things to be coming in association with great people like Guruji, Gitaji, Prashantji. So if by chance I have done something good in my life and I am blessed with the presence of the divine Govinda, and at the same time I have my Guru also present before me. If by chance that happens, akasmat, if at all that happens. So Kabirji has this dilemma. So he's thinking that agar dono aa gaye, so what will I do? Okay, who will become more important for me? So that dilemma is solved. The answer is coming. Guru Govind dono khade, kaake lagu pair? Whose feet will I touch first? Okay, if I touch both the feet, then one hand touching, not good, not auspicious. Jawar will tell me you have to cross hands. Yeah. So I don't know about that, right foot, right hand. So all that, so many dilemmas in your head. So how to do, what to do? So the dilemma is solved. Okay, Govind is there in front of me, but who brought him to me? What makes me fortunate enough to have the presence of the Lord? Am I having that power? Am I having the ability? Am I having the capacity? Then I would become a yoga Brashta. Okay, because I have to acknowledge that it's not me, it's my Guru. So it is through the Guru that I am able to have the darshana of Govinda, if at all. So first I will touch the feet of my Guru, saying it is Guru who has shown me. Govinda diyo bataye. Guru has showed me the face of Govinda. So how many of you have seen God? No? Yes. So we don't have that chance. Maybe not in this life. So if we don't have that chance, but you have another chance. So if you cannot see God directly, then you have a beautiful solution via media. Okay, you can't go directly. You have this no direct flight, no non-stop flight, which Prashantji knows what is non-stop flight. No non-stop flight, but you have a hopping flight. Okay, so it need not be one. It can be one and another. So we, all these people who are on the stage and myself, we have had hopping flights. Guruji, Geetaji, Prashantji, and I don't know where the next hop will be, but I'm sure that it will be good. So they are sitting there now, so it's their turn to speak. So I want to ask them, am I okay here, or should I shift somewhere? Yeah, you're all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Seeing me is not important. Here is good. So we have people, as you can see now, by now you've seen them for the last 5 minutes, and you can see that there is a spectrum. So I will start with the seniors here, like Aisha, Jawahar, and Viba is also among the senior among these. So let me start with asking a general question. This is about celebrating Prashantji. So what is your first memory of Prashantji? I will share mine a little later, but let's start with them. Anybody?
Okay.
Aisha.
So, my teacher.
Little closer.
Can you hear? Okay. So, my teacher in England said to me, "You must go and meet Mr. Iyengar."
Yeah, yes.
This was in 1976. I was coming to India, and she said, "You have to go and meet Mr. Iyengar." So, I promptly came to Bombay. And for a certain reason, I couldn't go to Pune. So I heard there was an Iyengar class in Bombay, in Campion School, and I went to that, and there was Prashant Bhai. Now remember, this is my first exposure to Iyengar yoga. I had none at all, except in England for a few months. I was in a daze, like all beginners are when they first come. They don't know what's going on. And at the end of the class, I went to give my 20 rupees to Prashant Bhai, and he said, "I will not take it. You came to see my father." And that was my first defining moment in Iyengar yoga, that it has never been about money. So that was how I met him.
Wonderful.
Namaste, all of you. Namaskar, Prashantji. First glimpse of Prashantji on the terrace of Sam and Frenny Motiwala. Yes, you remember? Yeah? Okay.
Diana is here.
It's like you want me to drink something. It's like, okay. All right. Ice cream. That is this way. And that's when we were all gathered there, all the Mumbai students, and Sam and Frenny's terrace. I cannot recollect the year, but it was definitely the 70s. Yes? Okay. And Guruji said, "Meet my son, Prashant." So that is my first glimpse of Prashantji at that time. Next glimpse of Prashantji was in the classroom, backward extension asana, and we were doing, and there he was, last in the row, doing Urdhva Tadasan, Urdhva Dhanurasana, Tada, sir. So I said, oh, so this is, this is Prashantji. That was my very first glimpse of Prashantji. And then later on, of course, he became a regular feature. He and Geetaji, along with Guruji, they would visit every Saturday, Sunday by rotation without fail. So those are the earliest memories of Prashantji.
I had been coming to the class, but because of my branch timings, I had done Guruji's class. At that time, Mr. Shah was there. I did his, and then I could do Gita Tai's. And then eventually I came to Prashant sir's class. And I don't want to tell you about the exercise part of it, but by then I had developed enough fear of the Iyengars. But strangely, I didn't feel that about Prashant sir. And I could actually communicate with him. And somewhere I felt that I could talk to him. So one day he did entertain my coming to meet him. And I told him that my daughter, she was having a very difficult time in school. She never did well. Then she graduated somehow. But then she found her place in life. And then she shone. And in the subject that she taught, she learned, she became such a popular teacher that I wanted to go and tell sir about it. And he said to me that because she was a poor student, she became an excellent teacher. She understands people, she understands their fear, their inability, and she is able to reach out to them. And I thought that I knew my daughter, but now Prashant sir introduced me to her. So thank you, sir.
Rajvi, something to say?
Okay, so my first memories of Prashantji are not by actually visually seeing him, but hearing about him. So this is even before the institute came up, and my father used to attend the Saturday, Sunday classes, not the Saturday classes in Mumbai. And he would talk one day, and it was obviously Guruji's classes were quite impactful. So we would have stories at home about what happened in class and how people did it. And one day he said Guruji's son and daughter had come. And the son was very quiet, and the daughter was very strong. And after that, so these were the first, so we had some kind of an image. At least I had, and then when you actually met, you realize that how things had changed. And the first physical, visual memories go back when Prashantji used to come to Mumbai. And that's, as you are all aware, the last week is generally pranayam related. And the class would be doing pranayam, shavasana, and we had to do Urdhva Dhanurasana, and everything was multiples of 30s. Nothing was like 10, 20 or 50s, and it was Urdhva Prasarabdha Padasana or leg works and rope works, all in multiples of 50s. And after the class, people would come back and say, so relaxed, and you'd wonder what it was. But, the point was that we could continue, and we didn't have the courage. Like till Prashantji said stop, we kept doing in the multiples of 50s and things. So I think it went on for quite a long time and developed a lot of, I would say, perseverance and determination at that point of time. And I was hoping when I could become older and say how nice it was. For me, the rest of the class was sleeping. And here we were working hard. So that was the first memories, and those were the times, as they say.
Now let's come to one generation below. No, you can give it to Raya. We come back to Sid later. Yeah, so Raya is also, as you all know, come from the children's class, and he'll have to share his own experiences.
So there are two parts. One is before I actually came to practice hall, I was attending Prashantji's class. From beginner's class, I was, Ali was my teacher, and he literally threw me out. After attending some 6 months, 8 months like that, he said, now Monday you are going to Prashantji's class. So I said, no. Don't understand. I have heard him speaking from the steps while going up or down, whatever. I don't understand what he's saying. And first of all, I didn't speak English at all. So by that point of time, I was like, whatever is happening, I'll look around, follow, literally copy, watch and do. So he said, and those of you who know Ali, he's a taekwondo person. He said, next time तू आ गया ना मेरे क्लास में, पैर तंगड़ी तोड़ के हाथ में दूंगा, प्रशांत जी के क्लास पे जा. So, and he said, I have spoken to him. I was like, okay. So I land up in Prashant ji's class, and it happened to be the third week, June month, and the Chanchani boys were in the class, Nachiket and Pranav also. And they were doing Viprit Chakrasana. So Prashant ji said, go sleep on the platform, put your hands down. So I was like, okay. And I had no clue what happens. Those of you who know Viprit Chakrasana. And he said, lift your buttock. And I lifted, and he just swung me. And the moment, I had no clue that you are supposed to bend your legs and land in Uttanasana. So I landed flat in Sashtang Namaskar position, like thadak karke. He said, what are you sleeping for? Go for next one. So next 6 times, and he just had his hand, very little support, so I could land properly on the feet, and I just repeated. He was like, after six times, he said, now you have to do it by yourself. So that was my first class. And then, 4 years later, whenever I started coming for practice, I had no clue how to practice. So I come, and I know 2 or 3 people in the hall. One is Guruji, you don't ask him what to practice or what to do. Other 2 were Dr. Rajlakshmi and Chandra. They were lying down in Supta Virasana. So I thought that's what practice is supposed to do. So I went, took a mat, nice bolster, blanket, I'm chilling there. And Prashant ji walks in. And I mean, I was just telling Abhi yesterday, she was doing horse and rope Viprit Dandasana. And back in the day, Prashant ji would often come for his rope Shirshasana. Those who have seen, he would be there for 1 hour or whatever. I mean, he would say timing doesn't matter, but I miss him in the hall. But anyway, so he looks at me and he said, what are you sleeping with these oldies? So I'm like, I don't know, I'm practicing. He said, go do. And as Rajvi said, the minimum number was 50. There was nothing below 50. I mean, and multiples of 50, not one. Like now people are like, 50? 50 was a starter. Leg lifts, as she said. So he said, do 50 ropes 10 times or whatever. So I'm like, after one batch, I'm gone. So you're lying down. So yeah, that was the beginning of my prime age practice. I mean, he still says that Raya in prime age. So that was the beginning.
See, now you guys, you are seeing the different faces of Prashant Iyengar, okay? So don't think he's always just like this. Siddharth, would you like to share your experience?
Okay, it's on. I first started with, or attended a class of Prashant ji in the late 90s. And I thought I was very good in my practice. With so much inspiration of the pictures around in the institute. So I remember this one incident very clearly. We were doing Janu Shirsasana, and Prashant ji was going for a more passive sort of Janu Shirsasana in the class. And I was trying to, flex my arm and show that how further forward I can go and, kind of look as close to Guruji's picture as possible. And then I remember he was standing here and I was in the corner over there. Somehow or the other he managed to spot me. You all know that the Iyengar, you cannot escape the Iyengar eyes. They are everywhere. So anyway, so I'm, checking my arms out, looking at my leg, is it proper and all that. And then he says, hey Siddharth, don't bicepize your Janu Shirsasana. So that was my first sort of the taste of what was to come with his teachings. And I am grateful for that. Thank you, Prashant ji.
Thank you. We are coming to that language very soon. But let me share you my experience also now. Why should I be left behind? So my first meeting with Prashantji was, of course, in Mumbai. It was Guruji's class on a Saturday afternoon, I think. And as somebody said, Holy Name School, not Campion, Holy Name School. And Guruji comes over the weekends, and I was very new. So I knew, BK Iyengar, I have to go. I didn't even know him as Guruji at that time. Huh? Sorry for that, but I was so naive. And then what do I go and see? Where? No, Guruji is not there. Who's there? He's going to teach your class. This man, sorry Prashantji, but this is the truth. My disappointment, I felt cheated. I came for BKSI, Guruji's class, and who's this? Who's this going to teach me? I have another teacher. I started learning with Father Jo. I have another teacher. I don't want a third teacher. What is this? Stupid as I was, naive as I was. I'm in my early 20s, so you can imagine, foolish. But all the same, I joined the class. And then it was a good class with all the instructions and all, not to go into detail. We came to Sarvangasana towards the end of the class. So like Siddharth, I was also in my 20s then and, trying to do your best pose and, like always wanting to show off. And I was doing. Suddenly somebody comes from behind. I mean, I don't see anybody, right? You are in Sarvangasana. You are looking at your own chest there. So I get lifted up from behind, off the floor. I said, what's happening? Where am I? So I am lifted off and I'm just plonked down. Quite unceremoniously, I must say. Not gently. And then I said, wow, what is this? This feels good. This feels great. I feel so light. I mean, what is this Sarvangasana? I've never experienced this before. This is fantastic. Okay, so this is my first memory. Thank you, Prashantji, for that lift. And at that time, what did I take home from that lesson? This is how you must lift people in Sarvangasana. And I was teaching children at that time in school. This is how I can impress children and make them feel what is a good Sarvangasana. Then they will never leave yoga. This was my lesson. Thank you for that simple lesson. Okay, so we go ahead now. There are so many questions. I thought we will not have anything to say, but see, we have a lot to say. All right, so I now coming on a little different note. So most of us, I think even Siddharth to an extent. Siddharth, if you remember, you had demonstrated for Prashantji on the 85th birthday celebration. He said, I don't remember. I said, I have proof. I showed him a photograph. I said, now this is you. This is 2003 at the back. This is Prashantji. December, RIMYI celebration. Now you think. So I don't know if you have tweaked any memories of that, but I'm sure he must be in a daze, because at that time, if Prashantji has called him on stage to demonstrate, Prashantji definitely found some value in his demonstration. So even if he doesn't have a memory of that, I think that it was a great beginning, a kind of an initiation, as you would say, to future times. So we can see now after so many years that he's become a very successful, popular, and sincere teacher. So Siddharth, you have any thing to share about your journey in yoga and when you are now attending Prashantji's class, so much so often because of being online. So any things that tweak in your head, which are eureka moments, anything that you realize, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, or any new learning, if you'd like to share any one thing.
Having started in 89 with Guruji when he used to come to Campion School. Piramal. As being the child in the class and in a class full of adults. Guruji always, took me aside, especially during a pranayama class, and would say, now okay, 108 Surya Namaskars, 100 Urdhva Dhanurasans. And for me, looking at Guruji, he was like a superman. As a young boy, you look up to men like that. And the way, just his physical stature, he was always, for me, he was a superhuman and a superman. But with such a soft, kind heart. And it's difficult to follow the oratory skills of Firuza. So I apologize for my lack in explanation or language. But coming to Geeta ji, soft, gentle touch, mastery in the therapeutic aspect of the asanas, and discovering different ways of getting into a particular asana was, in my opinion, her forte. And coming to Prashant ji, in my experience, he has opened up sort of a Pandora's box. What we thought, what our idea or what my idea of yoga was, has suddenly become more diminished after he has revealed, put the spotlight on what else is there. Which is why am I saying our? I'm saying my intelligence was like a spotlight in a large cave. And wherever you point the spotlight is where you can see. So that was my, journey in this subject so far. Until he came and switched the entire, lit the cave for me to realize how vast and deep this subject actually is. So for me, Prashant ji has brought about a vast change in my concept, in my understanding of the subject. Not to say that Guruji and Geeta ji never taught us that. It's just that I wasn't able to absorb it at my level. But I'm hopefully mature enough to now understand what the vastness of the subject and the beauty of the subject is. For that, I thank you again, dear Prashant ji.
Thank you, Siddharth. That was really well put. I'm now looking at Jawahar next to him, father, son. Now, Jawahar started in early 70s, and he has also seen the teachings in the 70s, early 80s, and thereafter, generally in the Iyengar system, in Pune, in RIMYI, Guruji's teachings, but also in Prashantji's teachings. So did you notice some change, some transformation in the way he taught over the years? So if you have any such things memories to share.
Like Siddharth said, it's not that we did not have a foundation. We had the foundation with Guruji, we had the foundation with Geeta ji, and Prashant ji sort of built up on that. So the going into the intricacies of things which are not written but are experienced. This is I will say, the eye opener in what Prashant ji used to teach us. That sort of encouraged us to learn more than what we had previously learned, and he gave us references to many books, etc. Of course, I didn't read those books, which I would rather hear him speak rather than read. So that is my fault and that. But it was exploratory in a different way. More insight but in a different way. I mean, I cannot really try and explain this, but many of you have experienced this, I'm sure, with Prashant ji. Things that you thought you knew, but you did not. You thought you did, but you did not. So thank you, Prashant ji, for the opening up of our consciousness. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, it is. Thank you, Jawahar. See, now all the teachers are becoming more and more expressive as their emotions and thoughts come up. Prashant ji told me that during the 80th birthday celebrations, Guruji asked him to teach a class on pranayam, and Guruji said that you should not be using the language of the body. So Guruji gave him a direction that teach without using the body parts and names. And he has shared with me that this was a thought for him, and he thought how to go about doing that. And all those who were there surely remember it was such a wonderful job. And after that, I think his teachings changed in a radical way, because it showed him the way of how to teach differently as suggested by Guruji to him. So Vibha, you were a part of all those celebrations and those times. So did you notice any change in Prashantji's style of teaching? And I, for one, know that he started bringing in the graphic designs sometimes in the 80s, and the different modes of breathing, and of course the vocabulary kept enlarging, and the Oxford and etc. couldn't keep up with him. And a little later came the sound forms, the prana kriyas, the mantra shastra, nada shastra. So some of us have been exposed to that. So I'd like to ask Vibha, what are your impressions? Vibha, by the way, has also compiled his classes in the book which you know as Prashanta Uvacha. So I would like you to tell us what led you to that, and how did you grow in the process, and what are your experiences?
Alana? I used to attend Prashantji's classes, and I used to go home and write what I could remember. And I always thought that I ran short of memory because I couldn't remember everything he said. And I really thought that what he said had so much worth that I started recording his classes. And then, of course, we made a book with it. So I hope you read the book, because it gives a detailed expression of what he had to convey to us. And I don't want to say anything more about what he wrote, because that is going to come later. But what does come to my mind is something funny that from what he and Firoza just said, that he brought us down to earth, You came into class thinking of your capacity, your flexibility, your capability to do an asana, and you came there and you did, and he said, do Trikonasana. So you did Trikonasana and you thought you're doing such a fabulous job. And then he came and told you that the floor is even, it's not wet, it's not slippery. That is what is giving you stability. And your ego just went off the table. And you said, thank you to the floor. So that's how he really brought you down.
Thank you, Vibha. Aisha here, I know. So when I first met Aisha, it was in an intensive course, and my story is different there. But she was the only Indian on that intensive which Guruji taught in those days, in 81, maybe 1981. And I had come with, this great feeling that intensive 3 weeks and all, and Guruji has accepted me. And they were all a group from Manchester and some other countries, but there was one Indian face. So Aisha became my friend, and then I realized, she's also not from India, she's from the UK. So Aisha started learning in the UK, and now after so many years since then, now having been to the Western countries, I know the style of teaching in the West is a little different, quite different from the way you learn here. So I want Aisha to share her experiences having learned in the Western country and then having come here and then attending Prashantji's classes. How did you receive that, and what are your memories?
Yes, actually when I met you, I had already done one intensive before, and it was a back-to-back. I was so enamored of working with Guruji that I said, Guruji, please can I do the next one as well? And so that's what happened. I want to tell you about that time. We would not be many people. There were about 30, 40 of us. And Guruji at his fiery best. Prashant Bhai and Gita ji in the back, assisting where needed. For me, Prashant Bhai was a safe place. He was a refuge, to run away to. When I wanted to ask something or know something, I would go to him and feel, yes, sab theek hai. At that time, occasionally we could catch him practicing. You all have seen him, but at that time he was not visible in that. But sometimes behind that pillar over there or in that corner, he would be doing something, forward bends or whatever it was. And those who have not seen Prashant Bhai practice have really missed something. It was absolutely exquisite and beautiful. Poetry in motion. That's how it was. So learning in England, of course, was very, very, it was very strong. We were crazy about yoga. We did it morning, noon, and night. Guruji would come once a year or whatever it was, and we would then just be, we didn't think anything else. Life went on, children, husband, sab kuch chalta rehta tha, but it was the yoga that enamored us completely. Now, to come back to what has changed, Prashant Bhai in 2018 at Yoga Anushasanam, when you declared one day the marvel of the natural breath, for which you felt you should have been given the Nobel Prize. This changed everything for me. It was absolute relief in a way. And from that time, I have been using this way to explore the kriyas, the sound forms, and included it in everything that I do in the yoga. So, thank you for that. That is, to cut a long story short, many years, 50 years of practice, I feel I'm a beginner learning again. And I thought, chalo abhi is umar mein aaram kar lenge thoda, we won't have to work so hard and all that. No such thing. It's absolutely, I tell my students, I said, I can't share with you, I feel like a beginner. It's too much. Let me absorb first. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. When Aisha says that she felt safe, it triggers some memories for me also. Prashantji would remember those days we were given the rooms downstairs to stay like a hostel. Okay? Vanita will also remember that. And I used to come very often, and whenever, because I used to teach and there would be vacations, or once the exams were over and if I had to correct papers, then I would not be seen in my college anymore. I would carry all of them and come here and do that job here, and as well as attend and all that. So sometimes I would be the only one. There have been times where the only one, and Prashantji would lock the main door of the institute, lock me in after a certain time, and actually that made me feel very safe. Okay? In the morning, he would open the door, but till that time I was inside, locked up, and that was actually a safe place to be in. And let me tell you, Prashantji, you were my morning alarm. Those days we didn't have alarm clocks. And we don't have those big ones, but I didn't carry any. So my morning alarm would be Prashantji opening the main gate, which was not this gate, it was a metal gate. So the clanging of the keys and the opening of the gate, and my room was just there, so I could hear that, and I would get up. Okay, now he's opened the door. That means it must be 5 o'clock, or something like that. I don't know, about 5 o'clock or so he would open the doors. So he was my morning alarm. He was my safe place to be in. And I must tell you, the amount of trust and faith. I was given the keys to the library openly. Okay, go anytime you want, read whatever you want. So there have been times when, things have struck in my mind. 11 in the night, I would go to the library, open the lock, sit and read. Nobody ever asked me anything. Nobody ever said, why? Why did you do that? There are rules. So with Prashantji, you feel very, very comfortable and secure because there are no rules. And I don't mean to say it in a bad way that there are no rules. You make your own rules because he makes you responsible for yourself. He never imposes anything on you. And that is his wonderful quality that I remember. Now, okay, you don't have to clap every time. I'm coming to Rajvi. As most of you know, that Rajvi is a scientist. So you know that yoga is a science and an art and a philosophy. And I know that Rajvi relates to the science part of yoga beautifully. But with Prashantji, there have been times when Prashantji says, these scientists, they don't know anything. And Prashantji is inclined towards the philosophy. So I want to ask Rajvi, as a scientist, how do you relate to Prashantji's philosophical style of teaching? Can you share?
Well, honestly speaking, possibly my journey into science and yoga has been simultaneous, and I don't think these are separate branches. So, when people call science, art, philosophy, they're all integrated, because science at the highest form is an art. So if you're going to really develop something, evolve something, create something, it's an art. And all that together is integrated with life. So I think it's all integrated, and why Prashantji, I remember Guruji always saying, क्या तुम लोग को डिग्री मिला है? I remember Guruji hitting Birju and saying, क्या IIT से किया है? कुछ नहीं समझता है. And we sort of understood that, because we were very fortunate that while the academic education went on, this education actually told us that what we knew was, it's superficial, it's knowledge, it's information. But the wisdom came from coming here, from attending the classes. And, but what enchanted me a lot during the early days of the classes was the way Prashantji, because, having learned in whatever way education, how he would, recite stanzas and stanzas from the scriptures. And it was very fascinating to know how does this person who has not formally studied actually know all the text so well. And I remember even interviewing him and asking him that how he has studied it, because I know formal education, he has studied his BCom, and how did he do all this? And he would say, and I remember Vanita Jay once saying that of all the family members, Prashantji was one of the so-called worst students who didn't even like to go to school. And then you see him, and I asked him, I said, how did you learn all these? How did you memorize? He said, nothing. 4 years he did it, I think 82 to 86 or 84 to 88. And 4 years and everything has just been absorbed. So you sort of realize that knowledge doesn't just come from studies or books. It's something which is also grace, and it's something. So I still cannot really fathom how he can recite, narrate, and so smoothly. And I've still not figured out how it has happened. And then finally you say it's karma, it's something he's born with, and it is grace and it's genes, and leave it at that. So that's where the science comes in, that it's the genes.
We must not forget that he is born in the house of a yogi, and that's supposed to be one of the highest births that one can have. And if Prashantji talks about samskara, and if some of you don't understand what that is, then here is an example. That there are samskaras and there is grace, which is why, as he himself says, that when he was in school, he used to actually run away from school and go and hide somewhere. Because he didn't want to, he felt very bad that he was not able to perform well. But afterwards, everything opened out, and we are so fortunate to receive, like when the cloud bursts, you have to be under the cloud to receive. If you are not under the cloud, you are unfortunate. But if you are fortunate to be there, then you get drenched. तो जैसे मीरा को उनके गुरु ने कहा था कि आप तो रंग गए, तो वैसे हम भी इनके रंग में रंग जाते हैं, इनकी बारिश में भीग जाते हैं. And if you are fortunate, you will receive that. So yes, thank you again and again. Okay, so I must ask this to Raya. Prashantji's vocabulary, are you familiar with it? So Siddharth said...
It's a yes or no question, na? Yes.
Siddharth said, he said, don't bicepize your Janu Shirshasana. Okay, so you all are familiar with spine eyes, bicep eyes, mind eyes, mindology. Mind eyes your breath, and breath eyes your mind, and breathoscope, and like stethoscope, scanoscope, and mindoscope, and I guess you can add more to that. Breathesture, gesture, breathesture, mindesture, and udanized, pranized, apanized, okay? Mindify, Spotify, I think they must have got inspiration from Prashant. Must be Prashantji's inspiration there. So Raya, you have to say something about that, or anyone actually.
I was only saying that if you say that, you said, can you explain Prashant in one word or two? I said, he's a walking, talking thesaurus. I mean, it will be so wrong. It will be unfair, unjust, unwarranted to explain in one word what Prashant sir is. Yeah.
Volume. Okay. So Raji would remember we had this thing about, Prashantologies, and perhaps a Prashant dictionary of Prashantisms, not just isms, but also his vocabulary. So one day we'll have a new dictionary of Prashantji's vocabulary, but somebody has to take up that task. Okay. Now, a few more questions strike my mind here. So, I've done some good work and come. Yes, what about older people would remember picnics with Prashantji? You have any memories of that? Picnics? Not just Prashantji, the RIMYI picnics. So if you don't have a memory, I have. We used to go on picnics. That there would be a bus. There were not so many students, so bus load of students on a bus, and we'd go to a temple. I can't remember the name where, but we would go, and then all the ladies of the Iyengar family, included Geeta ji, they would be dancing, singing, we'd sing songs. And I learned one thing there. Prashantji was very fond of perus. That's the best fruit he liked, and that's what I learned at that time. So we used to have a lot of fun, and I don't know if he remembers, but he used to crack some jokes also. And his nephews, Srinath is here, I don't know if he has any memories. He used to say jokes, and these little boys would say, "Mama, once more. Mama, once more." And he would repeatedly repeat the jokes and have them laugh. So I have seen that side of Prashantji also. So we had picnics, and as you all know, Prashantji is a musician, and he used to play the violin, which he stopped playing. He says, I could do only one thing seriously, either music or yoga. I chose yoga, so bad luck for music. But I unfortunately have never heard him play, but he did play once. Any of you heard him? Any memories? Jawar, would you like to say something?
That was another exposure of Prashantji, because like I said, the first time I saw him, he was doing Urdhva Dhanurasana at the back of the class. I mean, after that, of course, we met many times. But to know that he was a musician, I first heard him and saw him, of course. January 1975, at the inauguration of this institute. It's the first time I realized that he had this in him to play the violin. That was my very first exposure to Prashantji, ever having played the violin. That was it.
So played during some, in 80, 88, 89, yeah, can you?
Actually, I had the opportunity to sit with Prashant sir recently, and he was telling me that he had in Mumbai shared the stage with Pandit Ravi Shankar, Praveen Sultana, and he was the third artist. And and his audience were all professional musicians. So it was not just proletariat people like you and me, but actually people who knew about music. So to quote his own words, he said that music is so much within me that it shows in my teaching and in my articulation.
So, can I just say this? Because you spoke about his singing. This is from Prashant Uvacha, which I randomly picked up 2 days ago and randomly opened to this page. And he says, "Why do you let me scream the techniques of asana to you? Let me sing them to you. Let my techniques not be memos, let them be love letters. Tune in the body, the mind, and the oral regions, and get music. Stimulate, bringing in the imagination and the creativity. When all the organs play in tune, listen to the music. This cannot be taught. You alone can teach yourself."
So since Vibha mentioned,
Firoza,
bear
one
with me.
minute. I just wanted to add that we have collected a whole lot of his sayings and we are trying to put it together. So if anybody has some precious quotes of his, please come and give it to us. Okay?
Okay, so about music, no? There is a, for those who don't know, in Mumbai, there was a very prestigious stage called Kal Ke Kalakar. And how many of you? Kal Ke Kalakar, new talent was invited on stage. And I know it used to be in the CJ Kawas Jahangir Hall. I used to attend those programs because I stayed in those. Unfortunately, I didn't attend his. I only got to know later. But it is a very prestigious stage, and those youngsters who performed on that stage always had a very illustrious career in music. And Prashantji was so talented that he has performed on those stages, plus stages, as she said, sharing stage with Parveen Sultana and Ravi Shankar and people like that. But he had his own reasons for not continuing in music, which we will not go into that today. So he is a multi-talented man. I ask Raya to share about the vocabulary, which we missed out on. So please.
Actually, we have moved further from there, and Prashantji's vocabulary is an experience. See, one of the things those who have seen Pula Deshpande's videos or in real, and Prashantji, I've been told that he used to read and hear his lot of stuff. Prashantji's class, in certain sense, I mean, I'm a bad yoga student, so in that case, it's a fantastic stand-up comedy also. If you wouldn't go without even a single class, without any big laughters. You will always hear him cracking a joke. There are multiple, on consoles, how there are multiple tracks. There is a serious yoga drone happening constantly, necessarily, that's the backdrop. But on that backdrop, there is physical element going on. There is one track of that. There is one stand-up comedy track happening. There is one incredible class organization happening. As the class numbers grew, those things changed quite a lot. First, it was like ladies go for this, men do this. Then it turned into those who get a place for ropes, plus these people do this. Meanwhile, from behind the columns, go and get the chairs. So the class organization. So multi-track sound recording, how they do. So Prashantji's class has multi-track recording happening, or not. Now it's getting recorded, but there is a multi-track happening. For a linguist, you will get the language. For those who seemingly are only, sometimes now Prashantji is bringing forth light on yoga in a very different picture. One of the greatest things you will have with Prashantji is he questioning you. He will question you as a student, as an assistant if you are assisting, if you are wannabe teacher, then in that case, Prashantji will always put questions that you will have to figure out. As an example, if you are saying that someone is depressed and that depressed person is supposed to do back bends but has a hypertension, in that case what would you do? Because for hypertension, mota, you do forward bends, you put the bandage, etc. But that person is depressed. What do you do? So those questions are going to always put us in a spot where we are going to begin to think. He's not going to give you like spoon-fed answers. He's going to make you understand the sense of direction. You know, Guruji, you always spoke about sense of direction. Prashantji will always ask you questions where you will have to figure out things. He wouldn't say like, यहाँ से सीधे जाओ, right को जाओ. He'll tell you, look at where the sun is rising, that is east. He won't say this is east. He'll teach you how to look, how to figure out. So even if you are not in this spot, you will have a capacity to understand how to figure out what is east. And that's what I think is one of the parts.
To continue with what Raya was saying, he said once, he says, don't try to look where you're going, find out where you are. So this is the kind of quotes that we have.
Thank you. And the funny note, if you know his quips from I Anger Yoga, Iyengar Yoga is made I Anger Yoga, and then perspire but don't expire.
Laboring but not delivering.
What is that?
Laboring but not delivering.
Laboring, perfect. So see, now memories are getting tweaked here. Come.
I would say whenever somebody is doing a bad Virabhadrasan, he says, why are you doing Dalbhadrasan? And then, I know, once I went to him, this was long time back, and I used to play badminton, so I always used to, injure my right arm. So then he said, go and get one blanket, one brick, and one belt. And I was wondering, like, okay, I'll go. I got everything, and then he said, come here. And then he keeps that blanket like how you wear a person felicitate with a shawl. So he's saying, now this brick, hold this brick, I'm giving you coconut. That belt is like a garland. And then that blanket is like a shawl. So I felicitate you. Sir, thank you. Amazing sense of humor. And I know he would make everybody, I know that's why we enjoy his classes. Thank you, sir.
There's never a dull moment. Mumbai students will remember how Madhubai Tijoriwala, who was very close to Guruji also, and we all know he was very stiff. So he would try, and Prashantji would say, Madhubai, better luck next life. So we are hoping that Madhubai will get a chance next life. Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to share that I haven't covered? Any of your memories, any thoughts that, because I have tweaked so many thoughts. Nothing?
Lots of thoughts. We'll have lots and lots of thoughts because you have triggered the memory sensors. But then I think time would be an issue. So it's
Right.
timing.
Anybody would
Stick
like
to the timing.
Anybody would like to maybe a quote from Prashantji's teaching, or as I asked Aisha, if somebody asks you to describe him in one word, what would you use? What word would you describe Prashantji with? One word. Quick. Anyone?
He describes himself as weird.
Okay.
How many masters do you know that say that they are weird? That shows his humility.
Beautiful. Anything else? Prashantji, they don't want to describe you in one word. Out of the box thinking. Out of the box thinking. 5 words. Okay.
He also says that my father named me Prashant. I am not Prashant.
Yeah.
But we are helpless, hapless, hopeless. Yeah.
All right.
Teaching will get better.
Right. So with that, we hathiyar dal dete hain. We are not in front of him. We cannot, manage to neither define him, nor describe him, nor explain everything about him in one session, put him in a nutshell. None of it is possible. And where else this description fits? You can't define. There are no limitations, there are no boundaries, there are no definitions. What is it? आइए.
Prashant ji is God for me. He is a God. And Ramamani Iyengar Memorial Institution is my temple. Thank you. I pray my God.
So as I have mentioned earlier also, again to quote Sant Kabir, Mai tero kabira bigad gayo, bigad kar sant bhayo re. So I said in the month of May, tell Amma, tera prashanto bigad gayo, bigad kar sant bhayo re. So with that, thank you very much. We are going to end this. So I thank all the people on the panel here for sharing their experiences. I thank this audience. And we'll continue with the rest of the program. So I now invite Prashant ji to come.
So, namaskar all of you. I am here for Guru Pournima. I am extremely touched by whatever was poured by the panel members. Which did not correspond to deservations. Anyway, so we basically have gathered here for Guru Pournima, and on that account I just want to say few things. Guru is not a teacher, because we can be mistaking these days that Guru is a teacher. Guru is an institution and a principle. Why do we require a Guru? For any animal, cattle, bird, insect, worm, they don't have to get trained to be what they are. Elephant doesn't have to go to academy to become elephant. Tigers, buffaloes, cows, leopards, eagles, crows, sparrows, cockroaches, worms don't have to go to any academy to learn what they are. But human being needs to know what is human being. By just being human being, we don't remain human beings. We have to become human beings. We all think we are human beings. But human being is such a species that it has a lot to become. And to become, it is not a natural, spontaneous process. Like a cockroach is born, it will become cockroach full-fledged. A calf is born, it will become cow, full-fledged. Just the time has to pass. It's a natural process with which subhuman species They take birth and they become. So that's why we don't come across any Cattle's Academy, Herbivorous Academy, Animals Academy, Birds Academy. We don't have it. If they are born, they become. If we are born, we have to become. So just by taking birth as human beings, we are not human beings. That is why we'll come across the reality sometimes is a human can be in form human, in body form human, anatomy human, structure human, but can be worse than subhuman. Human can be worse than a beast. A human being can be venomous than cobra. Human beings, we can put to shame cobras, snakes, crocodiles, tigers. Human beings can put to shame the divinities, the gods and deities. Lofty human beings such as Gnaneshwar, such as Tukaram, such as Yagnavalkya, such as Patanjali, such as sages and saints and seers. The gods envied them. The gods were envied by such lofty human beings. The gods were put to shame by lofty human beings. So human being is capable of putting to shame the lowest form of subhuman species, and can also put to shame deities. That is what the range human being is given. Generations of animals have come and gone. They don't change by generation by generation by generation. The horse and cattle have been cattle for last 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 500,000 years. Whereas human beings, we experience generation by generation, there is a change. And we mentioned that even our children, grandchildren, oh, it's a different generation and big difference. How were you when you were 4 or 5 years old, 3 or 4 years old? And how do you see a child today which is 3 or 4 years old? So in human beings we see changes, generation by generation by generation. This is not the case of subhumans. To be human being, we have certain rights, certain responsibilities, certain duties. That is not the case in case of cattle and subhumans. We don't try to decide what is a duty of buffalo, what is the right of a buffalo, what is the responsibility of a buffalo. Take any animal, donkey, horse, cat, smallest, tiniest worms to blue whale, which is the largest mammal on the planet now. Next to blue whale, if you place an elephant, it is like if you place a kitten by side of me. What is the dimension of a kitten? And what is my dimension? What is the dimension of whale? And what is the dimension of elephant? So next to blue whale, elephant is something like a kitten next to me. So all those subhumans don't have to go, don't have to have institution of guru and a principle of guru. They don't need it. So they don't have any right, duty, responsibility. Have you seen any band of animals going in a procession for their rights? We do, as human beings, we do that. Have placards and then take a procession. This is our right. This is our right. This is our right. This is our right. So, as human beings, we need someone to tell us about our responsibilities and duties. If I ask you a question, what a mosquito owes on this planet, what a mosquito owes in our solar system, what mosquito owes in our galaxy, there is nothing. But when it is human being, we don't identify that we owe a lot. No animal will identify that it owes. No subhuman identifies that it owes. Human being needs to identify this. Now, how human being will identify this? We don't owe just to people around us. We don't just owe to our family. We don't owe to our society. We do not just owe to humanity. We owe something at large to entire life on the planet. We owe something to all those life forms which are in the ocean, life forms which are on the planet. We also owe a lot to life beyond the planets. This is the responsibility, liability of a human being. If you are a human being, you owe. The moment we take a birth, we don't identify what we owe. Many of you might take pride. I don't owe anything to anyone. But we say the whole world owes to me. I don't owe anything. This is fiscal concept that you don't. There are so many people who will say, I don't owe any money to anyone. You don't owe any money to anyone. That doesn't mean don't owe anything. So when we are born as human beings, we need to be told about what is a human being. Not just make us aware of our rights, but our duties, our responsibilities, and basically we owe. So find out yourself, you say, whether it is fortunate or unfortunate. The moment we are born, we becomes debtors. We owe. And who will tell you that what we owe? We have been timeless existence. We don't start come to existence when we are born in a maternity home. Our existence doesn't come into existence when we are born in a maternity home and make the first sound, twa, the cry of the baby. So we are timeless existence. So if somebody says I don't owe anyone in my life, that's only physical dimension, money dimension, monetary dimension. But suppose I say, you owe me 1,000 rupees you borrowed in my last life. Are you going to make good? I lent you 1,000 rupees in your last life. Please repay. Are you going to repay? Now understand the reality. Maybe we borrow money, and before we pay, we can die. Our debt is not suspended because we have not cleared the debt. We can borrow money, we might have borrowed money, but we will not have repaid, we can die. Is it not possible? So therefore I say, I lent you 1,000 rupees in your last life and you owe me 1,000 rupees today. Are you going to shell 1,000 rupees? No, you are not going to shell. Because we do not believe in our timeless existence. Human beings need to know realities. We don't expect the cattle and birds and animals and worms and insects to know the reality. They are also eternal. The life principle in all those living beings is eternal. They don't have to be told about it, but human beings need to be told about it, that you are a timeless existence. And you owe a lot. So the moment human being is born, we have lots of debts on our shoulders, on our heads. We are not aware of this. Who is going to tell us? That is why the institution of Guru has been there. It's an arrangement of our Sanatana Dharma that there is institution of Guru to tell us who are we, from where are we, and to whence we are. That is not the question with other living beings. The buffalo has no question from where am I come, where am I going. It just says I am here. Any animal, it will know that only it is here. It doesn't know from where it is come. It's not its matter of inquiry. And whence am I? It's not its matter of inquiry. For human beings, it's a matter of inquiry. We are not just animal, bifooted animals. We are not one of the creatures. The moment we are born as human beings, we have lots of debts on our shoulders, on our head. You know someone who is almost a pauper person. Why somebody is a pauper? He is sunk in debts. He is totally sunk in debts. We are all sunk in debts. The moment we are born as human beings, we are sunk in debts. We owe something. And for us to know that we owe something, we need a guru. So once you know that you owe something, if you have sense of responsibility, you want to clear it off. Is that right? If you have sense of responsibility, you want to clear it out. If you are sure that you owe someone something, you want to clear it out. Who is going to tell us? So the Guru institution is an arrangement of the Sanatana Dharma and the archetypal plan, archetypal scheme. It's also a principle which is embedded in us. That's why Guru comes in Adhyatma. Adhyatma means something which is within you. To be aware of all that is within you. Now that cannot be cited by body scan. That cannot be cited by radiological insight. So there is a Guru principle within us. So how does someone become responsible? From within. So we owe a lot to whole universe. Now who is going to tell you about it? So there is the concept of Pancha Yagnyas, Mahayagnyas. You can read that in my book, Discourses on Yoga. As human beings, we owe to nature, we owe to our ancestors. I'll just give you a small example. There was a girl, and somebody put a question, do you know your great-great-great-grandmother? Somebody elderly person in the house. put that question. Do you know your great-great-grandmother? She said, no. The person said, she's sitting on your nose. Your nose is exactly replica of your great-grandmother's nose. Where did you get the nose from? Where did you get the nose from? It resembles to your grandmother's nose. Your eyes are like your grandfather's eyes, great-grandfather's eyes. So somebody in the house can tell you that your nose is like your great-grandmother, your eyes are like your great-grandfather, whom the child has not seen, because before the child was born, they were no more. Today we speak about genetic background. From where do you get the genetic background in you? Now, if it is advantageous to you, don't you owe? But unfortunately, we only blame. If you have a disease, oh, genetic, ancestral. A weak heart, why? Ancestry had a heart problem, so I'm carrying it. We only blame them for negatives in us. We don't identify any positive in us because of them. So we owe a lot to our ancestors, remote ancestors even. Like they say sometimes, the disease like diabetes, it says it is transmitted in third generation. So one escapes. Maybe something which is in the fifth generation, something in the seventh generation, something in the ninth generation. So we owe a lot to our ancestors. Now look at a very funny situation. So we all have ancestors. Is there anyone who says, I have no ancestors at all? No chance. Absolutely no chance. No exception. Whatsoever. So we all have ancestors. But I had and you had a previous life. I and you had a previous life. In previous life, we had another ancestry. Are we not supposed to owe them something? Should you not at least remember them? Or even if you don't remember them, do something for them. That is why we have a concept of Shraddha, something to be done for mains. Our ancestors in this life, our ancestors in previous lives, we have had so many human lives. Everywhere we had our parents. You only fall at the feet of your parents. What will you do for your parents of your previous life? Anything to be done? Today your children might go and settle in a foreign country. If they are settled in foreign country, do you forget them? Do you shun them? Just because your child or grandchild has gone to foreign countries, you don't close your doors. Just for that reason, you don't close your doors. So, if our ancestors have died, what is it? They have gone elsewhere. They have gone elsewhere. Like your child has settled in a foreign country, they have gone to a foreign plane of existence. We have some duties towards them. We have some responsibilities toward them. Who is going to tell you about it? So the Guru is eternal principle. That's why Patanjali brings Guru in Ishvara topic, Kalena Anavachinna. So he is the person who is seeing, who knows who were your ancestors, who are your ancestors in this life, who were your ancestors in previous life and previous lives. He knows. Like old person in the house can see 3-4 generations. A person who is nearing 100 years of age can easily say that I am seeing third generation, I am seeing fourth generation. Is it not possible? So this is an eternal principle Guru who is looking at you, who has looked at your journeys And he knows where all you have gone and what all you have done and what you have got to do therefore. So if I owe something in my retrospectively 10 lives before, I should repay at least now. What is the way out? Who will tell me? We don't believe in our previous life creditors. Somebody comes with a note and says, you owe me. You say, hell with it. Is that true? Is it possible that we have never been debtors in our past lives? We are indebted to so many people for so many reasons. It's not monetary indebtedness. We have so many kinds of indebtednesses as human beings. So what is the way out? So the Guru has given the dharma. The Guru principle, the Guru component in the archetypal scheme tells us human beings. And therefore we have concept of Pancha Mahayagnyas. And therefore the Guru is absolutely inevitable for human species. We owe to universe. Entire universe, we definitely owe. We have gone to various planes. So suppose I visited your house 25 years back and I forget. And I expect you to remember. Is it right? Or I remember and I expect you to forget. So we have gone to all those places. We have gone to all those various planes. We have no clue to it. Who is going to tell us? Somebody who maintains the records will tell you. Somebody who maintains the records will tell you where all have you gone so far, what all have you done there, do you owe something to someone then? So Guru is not a teacher. Otherwise, there are teachers for every vocation. That doesn't become Guru, who doesn't tell you about your reality. The teachers don't tell you about your realities. They teach you a subject. Teaching mathematics, teaching science, teaching philosophy, teaching psychology. They are only teachers. They don't tell you what you are. So we need a preceptor, and it is provided by the archetypal plan. If I may say so, there is a subject like selfology. We have psychologies. We have so many logies, astrology, biology, so many logies. Is there any selfology? That's the Adhyatma. So the Guru is always in the realm of Adhyatma. And the moment we are born as human beings, it is imperative that we touch the aspect of Adhyatma and allow the Adhyatma touch us. Otherwise we are bi-footed beasts. We are bi-footed beasts. And therefore, with respect to the Guru, there is singular namanam. Gurave namaha. But then there is also plural. Gurubhyo namaha. Why is it? Because we all have a Guru. Imagine your Guru did not have a Guru. How would you have Guru? So we owe, as much as we owe to our Guruji for whatever wisdom he has given, we owe something to his Guru, Guru's Guru, Guru's Guru's Guru, Guru's 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 Guru. Going back ad infinitum. So as human beings, we have certain responsibilities. We must open out the portal in whatever degree, to whatever extent about Adhyatma. Otherwise, we are just by-footed animals, take birth and die. We are not different than the animals who just take birth, live and die. As human beings, we owe a lot. We have such responsibility, not only in this life, but being responsible as a human being to entire universe. We have responsibility with regards to entire infinite universe. What to do with it? The Guru will tell you. The Guru has to tell you. One who tells you about it, that is Guru. One who guides you towards it is a Guru. One who divulges is a Guru. One who helps you to tread the path towards clearing the debts as human beings is a Guru. That's why the Guru concept has come in Adhyatma. And in order that it is inevitable that all of us have to have a Guru, we may not have a mortal Guru, but the Guru principle is built in within us. So you might say, I don't have any Guru, what should I do? Like there are many orphans, children who are orphans. So if you don't have a Guru, it is provided. It is provided within us. That's why it is a principle within us. So that is why Guru Pournima has such a significance. Don't mistake it like Father's Day, Mother's Day. You might be having Husband's Day, Wife's Day. Like you have Father's Day, Teacher's Day, etc., etc. It's not a Guru's day. It is not such a day. As you heard in the beginning, you all know, dispelling the darkness, by replacing which would replace the darkness, the light, enlightenment, the light. It is the Guru principle provided within us, and Guru principle provided you. If you can find one in the life, well and good. If you don't find one in life, you have with you. Once Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was questioned by a child. A beggar, insufficiently clothed, a woman, was walking on the streets. The child is inquisitive. He says, what is it that is hanging below her shoulders? She was naked, nude because of lack of clothes. What is hanging? So he said, it is provision of milk for the baby to whom she will give birth. So if we need something, we are given something. दाने दाने पर लिखा है खाने वाले का नाम, you know that. So if we need something, we are provided. Archetypal scheme, when it says you need something, it will not say it will not be provided. It will be provided. It is provided. Guru is the indispensable principle for human beings. If we are born as human beings, understand we have lots of indebtedness to not only things but people and situations and the universe at large. You can argue, I don't owe anything to next neighboring galaxy called Andromeda. Our neighbor, we are in Milky Way. We are in Milky Way. Our neighbor is called Andromeda. You can easily say, I don't owe anything. As easily you say, I don't owe anything to my neighbor. It's your neighboring galaxy. You do owe. What will you do? And that is Adhyatmic pursuit. You do something within. You don't have to go and send something, remit something, or walk to Andromeda and say, I owe you, take this. Oblation to Andromeda. No, not necessary. Do something within. Something has to be done within. You don't have to go in search. You don't have to identify what do I owe, how much do I owe. You know that you owe. So therefore, the Adhyatma sadhana is the way to clear the debts to possible extent. Life after life we go on clearing. Once you are debt free, you are liberated. Anyway, that's about Guru principle. So for us to know what is Guru principle, Satsanga. Listen to noble thoughts. Listen to noble people speaking noble things. Shastra Sangha. All these wise people have written down so much matter for us. Right from what is claimed to the earliest piece of literature is Rig Veda. It's doubtable. And then we have saints and sages coming down to our era. You know Gyaneshwar, Tukaram, Ramdas, so much they have transmitted, so much they have given to us. So we will really know what we are if we look into Dasbodh. If we look into Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. Gyaneshwari, 750 years ago. Gatha, 350 years ago. So the literature has been transmitted to us. So let's try to go all possible ways towards getting to know who we are. See, about ourselves, it is so fascinating. I will end with that statement. If you are once shown the mirror, you don't say, I want to see in the mirror often. Day in and day out, in a day 10 times, 100 times, the moment you cross a mirror, you look into your reflection. So it is bewitching to know at least our form. That's why there is no one who neglects or overlooks the mirror. Once you sight the mirror, you want to look at your face, your reflection. But suppose I give you your X-ray. Or I give you an MRI. Are you obsessed to look at the MRI day after day, month after month, year after year? How many times are you going to look at the MRI? But how many times you are going to look at your face? We are never tired of it. Looking at our own reflections, day in and day out, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. When you were 16, 17, you looked into the mirror. Now if you are 86 and 96, yet you look into the mirror. Nobody looks at you, but you look into the mirror. So that is the outermost gate for about oneself, to know oneself, to experience oneself, to know oneself. There are so many layers after layers where the glass mirror won't work. There are other forms of mirrors which will take you to noumenal aspects of you. Your appearance is phenomenal, mirror will give you reflection. So it will tell you that you are not this. So don't be going after obsessionally for a mirror everywhere where you go. There are many people who don't travel without a mirror. They carry it in their vanity bag anytime needed. If you don't have, then you have your smartphones. It will show your face. But you want to look at your face. Selfie mode, and then you look at your face. But there are so many forms of you. Who is going to tell you that this is not you, there is something beyond this? Then that is not you, something beyond that. So all this wisdom, which is so important, and as human beings, we have responsibility to be going towards that. Know thyself. To whatever extent, we must do it. There is know thyself for buffalo, know thyself for a donkey, know thyself for a mosquito, know thyself for a bug, bed bug. Human beings, it is there. Know thyself. So that is our responsibility. Because these days we are aware of our rights. Particularly in a democratic setup, our rights, these are our rights, those are our rights. The human being will become human being because of Guru principle, Guru touch, Guru influence, otherwise no chance. And that's how the Guru is indispensable. If you are human beings, you have to attain something, not just attain your goal in life, that I will become multi-billionaire, multi-trillionaire, I will become the richest man of the land or richest man of the planet. That is not what human beings should be aiming at. That might be aim, but you have to aim at something else, and this is that. For that we need a Guru. Tasmat Guruve Namaha. Gurubhyo Namaha. Namo Namaha. Thank you very much.
प्रशांत जी ने आईना दिखाई दिया. प्रशांत जी कहते हैं वो आम है, लेकिन हमारे लिए बहुत खास है. और इन खास प्रशांत जी के लिए कुछ खास लोग हैं. They want to say something and greet him on his birthday. So I invite Sat Bhai and the other students to take the mic.
Good morning. Now we are to felicitate Prashant sir. So I would request Hemant Garud sir to come forward and offer him a flower bouquet. Hemant Garud is the senior student of Prashant sir's class. I would now request Moka sir to come forward and offer a gift which has been received from very many students of Prashant sir's class. Thank you, Garud sir and Moka sir. I am here just to give 2-3 words about Prashant sir and then I'll conclude. I'll be speaking in Marathi. सरांचा सहवास असणं ही काळाची गरज आहे का नाही हे सर्वांनी ठरवायचं आहे. पण एक उदाहरण मला आपल्याला सांगावंसं वाटतं आणि ते उदाहरण आहे एका पावसाच्या थेंबाचं. एखादा पावसाचा थेंब चातकाच्या चोचीमध्ये पडला तो उपयोगाला येतो, म्हणजे त्याचा काहीतरी उपयोग होतो. तोच पावसाचा थेंब समुद्रामध्ये पडला तर स्वतःला खारट करून घेतो. तोच पावसाचा थेंब एखाद्या तळ्यात पडला, कुठंतरी नगण्य म्हणून जगतो, कोणाच्या उपयोगाला येतो का नाही कळत नाही. तोच पावसाचा थेंब गरम तव्यावर पडला तर स्वतःला नष्ट करून घेतो. तोच पावसाचा थेंब कमलपुष्पावर पडला आणि सकाळी सोनेरी किरणं त्यातून परावर्तित झाली तर मोत्यासारखा म्हणजे दिखाऊ दिसतो. आणि तोच पावसाचा थेंब शिंपल्यामध्ये पडला तर स्वतःला मोती करून घेतो. सरांच्या सहवासाने अनेक मोती जे आपण पाहतोय त्यामध्ये मी एक तयार होणारा मोती आहे असं म्हणायला काही हरकत नाही. आणि त्या दृष्टीने सरांचा सहवास आपल्या सर्वांना नेहमीच असतो, हा त्यातल्या एक महत्त्वाचा भाग आहे. असं म्हणतात की कोट्यावधी वर्ष झाली की एखादा सूर्य निर्माण होतो. लक्षावधी हरिणं पाहिले की एखादा मृग आपल्याला सापडतो. हजारो शिंपले उघडले की त्याच्यातनं एखादा मोती सापडतो. शेकडो लोक आपल्या जीवनात येतात, पण प्रशांतसारखा एखादाच आपल्या जीवनात येतो हे आपलं भाग्य आहे, हा त्यातल्या त्यात महत्त्वाचा मुद्दा. आता फिरोजा मॅडमने आता सांगितलं की प्रशांत सराचं एका शब्दात वर्णन करा. ज्याप्रमाणे प्रशांत महासागराचं वर्णन ते किती लिटर पाणी आहे हे सांगणं अशक्य आहे, तसं प्रशांत सरांचं जीवनसुद्धा कसं आहे हे एका शब्दात सांगणं फार कठीण आहे. आणि म्हणूनच ते नेहमी म्हणत असतात की ज्यांना योग शिकायचं आहे त्यांना पुण्य असणं हे गरजेचं आहे. पुण्य नसेल तर योग शिक्षण होत नाही. असाच सहवास सरांचा सतत राहावा, शतायुषी व्हावा असं मी त्यांना म्हणणार नाही, कारण काही लोक 1200 वर्ष जगले आहेत असा अनुभव महाभारतात लिहिलेला आहे. भीष्माचार्य 1200 वर्ष जगले, अर्जुन युधिष्ठिर 800 वर्ष जगले. त्यामुळं असा याच्यामध्ये 100 वर्षाचा इच्छा न धरता त्यांनी 1200 वर्ष जगावं अशी या निमित्तानं मी प्रार्थना करतो. आणि या दृष्टीने सर्वांचे शुभाशीर्वाद किंवा शुभेच्छा सरांच्याबरोबर नेहमी राहतील हे बोलून माझं भाषण संपवतो. धन्यवाद.
Thank you. Yeah, come.
Yes, Prashantji, you have taught us to become God, and I have experienced that you have become God. We are still learning on the way for so many years, and we owe so much to you, sir. Though we come to the class, they take care of each one of us, which we don't recognize. But in case we come across certain problem, I am dead sure he is the solution. Please give your blessings, and I pray to the God to give him long life, giving us blessings to follow his path of success. Thank you so much.
प्रशांत सर, सर्वप्रथम तुम्हाला वाढदिवसाच्या खूप खूप शुभेच्छा. This time I won't be translating my speech in English. It will be in pure Marathi. But it will be a comparison between music and Prashant sir. सर, मधली काही वर्ष वगळली तर जवळपास 20 वर्ष मी तुमच्या योग वर्गाला येत आहे. आणि तुम्ही घेता तो केवळ क्लास नसतो तर एक क्लासिक अनुभव असतो. आमचं पूर्वसंचित असावं किंवा कुंडलीतला भाग्ययोग असावा की तुमच्या हाताखाली आम्हाला योगाची धुळाक्षरं गिरवायला मिळत आहेत. मी इथं 20च वर्ष येते, पण इथे उपस्थित अनेक लोक त्याही आधीपासून येत आहेत. पण माझ्यासारखाच त्यांचाही अनुभव असेल की प्रत्येक क्लास वेगळंच काहीतरी देऊन जातो. अरे, हे आधी ऐकलं आहे, हे सरांनी आधी सांगितलं आहे, या आसनाबाबत हे उदाहरण पूर्वीही दिलं आहे, असं अजूनपर्यंत झालं नाही. तुमचा प्रत्येक क्लास तोच योग शिकवत असूनही काहीतरी वेगळं देऊन जातो, वेगळी अनुभूती देतो, वेगळी संवेदना तार छेडतो. तार छेडण्यावरून आठवलं, मग अशी अनेकांनी सांगितलं तुम्ही व्हायोलिन वाजवायचात. हे कष्टसाध्य वाद्य तुम्ही लीलया आत्मसात केलं होतं. व्हायोलिनमध्ये 4 तारा असतात. प सा या रचनेत मंद्र सप्तकातल्या पनं तुमच्या क्लासची सुरुवात होते. सेट स्ट्रेट, फोल्ड युअर पाम फॉर नमस्कार अशी. आणि हळूहळू लक्षात येतं की हा केवळ योगच नव्हे तर साहित्य, विज्ञान, भाषा, संगीत, खगोलशास्त्र, मानसशास्त्र, अध्यात्म, पाककला अशा अनेक विषयांवर तुमची पची प्रशांत पकड आहे. आणि मग मध्यलयीत, मध्यसप्तकात, आरोह अवरोहातून सहजतेनं मींड घेत मधुर सुश्राव्य पद्धतीनं तुमचा क्लास पुढे चालू राहतो. यात विचारांचा मुक्तपणा दाखवणारा छोटा ख्याल आणि बडा ख्याल असतो. योगाच्या चौकटीत राहूनही तुमच्या प्रतिभा सामर्थ्याचं दर्शन आम्हाला घडतं. यात जसा साधनेचा आणि साक्षीभावाचा सा असतो, तसंच प्रयोगशीलतेचा आणि परंपरेचा पही असतो. यमनियम, आसन, प्राणायामाचे वादी स्वर असतात, तसंच प्रत्याहार, ध्यानधारणा, समाधीचे संवादी स्वरही असतात. सर, तुमच्या योग रागात चोख विचारसरणीच्या 7 शुद्ध स्वरात रंजकतेचा कोमल रे, गुंजनाचा कोमल ग असतो. मलयासारखा सुगंधित तीव्र म असतो, तसंच धन्यतेचा कोमल ध आणि निदिध्यासाचा कोमल नीही असतो. फार क्वचित तुम्ही तारस सप्तकात जाता, तेही कुणाला समज द्यायची असेल तर. पण तो तारस सप्तकातला साही योग वर्गाला साजेसाच असतो. तुम्हाला कोणताही विषय वर्ज नाही, तुमच्याकडे त्यामुळे वर्ज स्वर आणि श्रुती नाहीतच. सारं कसं शाडव संपूर्ण असं. 2 तास तुमची एकल मैफल सुरू असते. म्हटलं तर आम्ही रसिक असतो, म्हटलं तर बाजिंदे आणि म्हटलं तर शिष्य. व्हायोलिनच्या 4ही तारांवरून सहजतेनं बो फिरवत योगराग तुम्ही विराग वृत्तीनं प्रस्तुत करता आणि आम्हाला अपूर्व अशा रससिद्धीची अवस्था देता. त्याच तरंग अवस्थेत आम्ही घरी जातो. गुरुशिष्य परंपरेतून आलेली ही गुरुमुखी विद्या तुम्ही आमच्यापर्यंत पोचवता आहात. अय्यंगार घराण्याचा योग राग तुम्ही आळवता आहात. प्रसन्न मनानं, स्थिर चित्तानं आणि शांत वृत्तीनं. सर, तुमची ही मैफिल अशीच सतत झंकारत राहो. धन्यवाद आणि प्रणाम.
कोणताही कार्यक्रम असला की ज्योती करंदीकरांचं सुदिनम नाही असं होणंच शक्य नाही. आणि म्हणून आजही त्या सुदिनमबद्दल म्हणतीलच. आणि सगळ्यांनी पण त्यांच्या मागोमाग हे सॉन्ग म्हणून सरांना शुभेच्छा द्यायच्या आहेत. आशीर्वाद देण्याची अजून पात्रता नाही.
मी एकदा म्हणेन, माझ्या मागोमाग कृपया सगळ्यांनी म्हणा, म्हणजे आपल्या सगळ्यांना आनंद होईल. आपण सगळ्यांनी मिळून त्यांना शुभेच्छा दिल्या. सुदिनं सुदिनं जन्मदिनं तव, सुदिनं सुदिनं जन्मदिनं तव, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं. जीवेत् शरदः शतं शतं, जीवेत् शरदः शतं शतं, आरोग्यं धनसम्पदां लभेत्, आरोग्यं धनसम्पदां लभेत्. भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं. सुदिनं सुदिनं जन्मदिनं तव, सुदिनं सुदिनं जन्मदिनं तव, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं. जीवेत् शरदः शतं शतं, जीवेत् शरदः शतं शतं, आरोग्यं धनसम्पदां लभेत्, आरोग्यं धनसम्पदां लभेत्. भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनं, भवतु मङ्गलं जन्मदिनम्.
That was so beautiful, wasn't it? We have one more duty to perform. The new issue of Yoga Rasya is being launched today, so I request Prashantji to open that. Thank you, Prashantji. This will be available down. And along with this, there are other books. You know, Prashantji has written many books. This is a very good occasion. Take some time and see if you can enrich yourself by some of the books which are available in the store there. And okay. Ina Ben wants to come and pay her respects. And after that, she wants to. We request Prashantji to stay here, and the elderly people, seniors should be allowed to go first, and the others later. And
with children, seniors, they can go down first for this.
okay, like on the flight, elders and children first, the others later. Thank you, and we end the program there. Namaste.